All right, welcome in and welcome back. How is everybody doing today? We are back on the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith, SEC call in. Um, we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about today. Also, the phone line is open. And if you're new here, if you can hit the like and subscribe button and help us grow this thing, that helps a ton. And there we go. I think that should fix the sound issue. But yeah, we are live on Twitter as well. Um just a little bit of that going on. Uh the college football playoff ranking has came out. I find that very, very fascinating. Um and we'll get to that in a minute. But first, let me get some. There's that. Get that done. But how's everybody's fine Wednesday going? We also got some action on right now. Ball State taking on Kent State, Toledo, Northern Illinois. A little action. Just with that. Very fascinating this evening. Also, the start of college basketball. So we have that going on, but I guess we could probably get into the finer things on the college football playoff side of things. But as the bracket had came out, the number one overall seed was Ohio State. I don't think anybody was shocked there. Ohio State being number one, that doesn't really shock me at all that they got put at number one. That's just what it is. So there is that. Also, Indiana being number two, I think you could have made a case for Indiana being number one. That's just my opinion. I think you could also make a case for A&M being number one. The whole strength of schedule, thing going on. Also, in Alabama being number four, kind of the way I look at that is that they're projecting Bama to win the SEC. I think that that's interesting to say the least. I don't think it's a be all end all because with Bama and A&M, they're likely on a collision course to win said or to not necessarily win, but either one of them is going to I would say the runner up and the winner is going to go to the playoffs. I just don't think that you could realistically, I think if the runner up team ends up with 3 losses, I still don't think you have enough pull to take them out of playoff contention. Also, phone line is open. Number to call 260-255-4069. Got Maction on, got a little college hoops on. So we'll see where the evening takes us. I'll probably leave this up for an hour. But yeah, that's not. Uh, that's kind of where we're at. I'm just looking for some stuff here. I apologize. Just getting it going. Do-do-do-do. I know this is probably riveting podcasting. Maybe that will do the trick. Oh, here we go. So there is that. Also, they're going crazy right now with the flight tracker stuff. Very interesting times down there on the plains, to say the least. But yeah, that we got the week that was in college football. We'll get to the upcoming week here soon. Get that out of the way. But yeah, the playoff rankings, I don't think anybody is shocked. Ohio State is number one. Also, the number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. So there is that. Texas A&M being in there. Texas A&M being 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Ole Miss 6. BYU coming in at 7, I think is interesting. Also, phone line is open if you want to call. Number 2 call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. But I think Virginia also being in there is interesting. I seen that no matter what, the bowl games, the way the buys are working out, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas A&M are saying the people that run the playoff are like, yes, inject that into my veins, because you could have another Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State. I think you would most likely see Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Indiana. I don't think that the TV networks would be ecstatic if they could get that accomplished. That's all I'm saying. I think they would be ecstatic if they could get that accomplished. So there is that. And hold on one second. Also, number to call, 260-255-4069. So there is that. Also, we're going to be streaming LSU Alabama, the night game. Sorry about that. I was taking care of something. But there's that. We will have that coming at you. That should be interesting. But yeah, that's the playoff ranking, pretty much summed up in a nutshell. You know, the universities out there, especially the SEC schools, looking for coaches. You have Arkansas open. You have not Alabama. You have Auburn. Um, a lot is being made of the Hugh Freeze stuff post um, post his time at Auburn. What do I think? I think that for the most part, I think Freeze did not hit on a quarterback in his time there. And I think that, coming into last year, that was the selling point of what he sold everybody on. And I'm not trying to sit up here and take pot shots at Hugh Freeze by any means. I think he has enough people doing that at him. But in my opinion, when it came to Hugh Freeze and the goings on at Auburn, in the midsummer, you could tell it was going off the tracks because the reports were leaking out about the recruiting, the golf, all of that. That is where, in my opinion, that is where it went awry. Um, I think that for the most part, if they were going to fire him, I think they made that decision at the beginning of the season. I think they were trying to make a case for not to fire him. His buyout was not huge compared to, Brian Kelly. I think just going down the gamut of jobs, especially in the SEC, I think I would say on any given day that the LSU job is better than anything and better than all the open jobs. I think Florida, they have their sights set on. They got the sights set on Lane Kiffin. Now, do I think that Kiffin is going to go to Florida? I don't know. I think that there's so many other determining factors that will play into that, I think, decision. I don't think that it's going to be conducive for anybody. I think that where it's kind of sitting now, I think that it's all up in the air because there's so many openings. And whenever I talked to somebody the other day, it was kind of, well, we got all of this stuff going on and there's not enough candidates out there to, how do I want to say, there's not enough candidates out there to fill the jobs. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think that there's enough candidates out there to get everything done that they need to. It's not looking good if you're in the business of hiring a coach. I think that, for the most part, it's kind of one of those things that they got to look at internally, in my opinion, what they have to do to get to that factor. I know LSU removed the interim tag off the athletic director. I think that's a good sign of things trending in the right direction for them. Now we'll see who they hire. But there's that. Also, number to call 260-255-4069 is the number to call. That's what we got going here tonight. I think that it's a very fascinating deal, to be honest. What's up, Joe? Glad to see you're in here. Phone line's open. We're talking SEC tonight. If you want to talk the playoffs, number to call 260-255-4069. But I do have a hard out at 9 o'clock. But that's what we got going. I'm not really shocked a whole bunch on how the playoff kind of committee shook out. I think that it's one of those deals that I think the SEC and what's going on, Joe?
Duke Ellington.
What's going on?
Hey, what do you got going on with the SEC?
Well, just talking.
Let's beat them down.
I'm just looking at it from a certain perspective of, the playoff committee, and then we have all these jobs open. I think is very fascinating. To see.
Yeah, I think you have to really kind of dig into guys, and you probably are good at it because you know all the OCs and DCs that are currently on teams that might be good matches to the many openings that there are, right? Yeah. I don't know the coordinators as well as you do.
I think that one of the things that where the bottom shakes on this is, do they have enough quote unquote qualified candidates to
well, that's just it. That's why I'm thinking, this might be the year to where we start to see a turnover of new faces becoming head coaches, because there just aren't enough to fill all the vacancies of these very good teams,
I'm also thinking that we are going to see, I think we're going to see a ton of turnover at the group of 5 level as well.
Because meaning they're going to jump up the division?
Yeah, I could see where some of those guys that are sitting at D2 will get offered group of 5 level jobs. I could see I think there's going to be a ton of movement in the coaching ranks. And quite frankly, I don't know what that means for the group of 5, to be 100% honest with you. I think that there's going to be coaches that get plucked. I think the guy at San Diego State, Sean Lewis, kind of had...
How long has he been there? Because they've started to come on in like the last, I would say 10 years, they started to really come on. Same thing, Fresno State kind of in that boat too, as far as California.
The reason why I pick out San Diego State was because Sean Lewis was the head coach at Kent State. He decided to leave his head coaching job at Kent State, and he went to Colorado with Deion Sanders. I don't really exactly know what the full story was there. I think it didn't go well. He quote unquote got fired, and then he leaves, takes a head job. San Diego State last year didn't do well. Colorado ends up having a good year, and then they're looking at him like, maybe Sean Lewis was the problem. Maybe Pat Shermer got it all figured out. And then it flips this year. Colorado's
Right.
have an abysmal year. San Diego State's like 8-1. I think he's going to get some run in the coaching ranks, to be honest. I think one of the higher sought after candidates is going to be Jeff Brom at Louisville. I mean, he won at Purdue, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, Purdue. I think Purdue's actually not as bad a team as everyone talks about, but they did have an abysmal year last year. That's for sure.
Yeah, I just feel like that Purdue, for all intensive purposes, is not committing resources. That was something that I think is one of the bigger myths out there about the Big Ten. Is that
they're pretty much mid-level. There's really only 2 or 3 good teams in every conference, right? I mean, really, when you look at it,
right?
So that's a lot of mid-level kind of. I hear all these conferences saying, "Oh, but they have this and this level." It's like, so what? It's like,
right.
You want to rag on Notre Dame? It's like, one of your best teams is Iowa. Give me a break.
Well, I think that when it comes to the Big Ten as a whole, I think that there is some things that there's a couple of schools that are just collecting a check.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm
Kentucky,
not gonna.
Kentucky comes to mind.
But see, here's the thing with Kentucky. I think if you're the Kentucky football coach, I think you're all right if you can be just decent. I think there's only like 1 or 2 guys in Kentucky's history that have a winning record.
There you go. I mean, talk about collecting a check.
But the thing of it is that Kentucky's been in the SEC for 50 plus years.
Then there's really no excuse for them. They ought to put up something, I mean, I get it, they're basketball, but 50 years at a conference, you might want to, help that club a little bit. If you're the AD and your boosters, it's like they're probably putting all their money. Well, I know when Carlissimo was there, nothing went to anybody else because he had guys that played 1 year and would go pro. It's like,
well,
they just had to have that year NBA rules. You have to. Although I guess they even laxed up on that because LeBron made the jump right from high school, didn't he?
yeah, and they kind of shut that down, which, but the other thing I will say is Kentucky carried the flag in basketball. For the longest time, when Alabama, Auburn, I mean, Mississippi State had some good teams, Arkansas had some good teams, but for the better part of 20 years, Kentucky carried the flag in basketball for everybody.
Yeah, in the SEC.
And then they go out. Calipari gets the Kentucky job from Memphis. I'm not gonna. It's hard to put. I mean, Kentucky tries, but they don't put the resources. I think they're committing more resources to football than what Northwestern and Purdue have in the past 20 years.
Yeah, that's probably true. Northwestern, they're more academic. They have enough players to field a team. It's like it's almost like Stanford. Like they could probably devote some pretty good years and get some pretty good recruits, but for the most part, they're more academic concerns for those schools.
Yeah, I think that you have you have, and also,
not including swimming or tennis.
well, the thing with the northern schools is opposed to the SEC that I think is a different game changer. Like at Ohio State, they got like the most. They have the most. How do I want to put this? They have the most sports. I think Ohio State has like 33 sports. Um, so I think that it's going to be interesting on how that is going to shake out. Um, and I think that the Big Ten is committing a lot of resources to basketball. That's why you see Rutgers being good. That's why you see some of the offshoot programs that aren't as good in football, but they're really competitive in basketball. I think that they're making a choice there.
Yeah, but Rutgers, before they joined the Big Ten, what were they? Big East? I think they were trying a little bit too because they had some pretty good basketball seasons before they went to the Big Ten. They were starting to be known, as the only sport really was basketball for them for a long time.
Well, also it doesn't help that Shiano left.
Yeah.
I think in the past 50 years, he's about the only coach that's had, decent success at Rutgers. But my thing is man, Rutgers is good academically, and I'm sure it's hard to get kids in there because I would say they don't budge like some of the other schools. I think that was one of the determining factors on why James Franklin left. Why James Franklin left Vanderbilt. Because
good school.
The thing with Vandy is I think they stopped giving him waivers when he was having off the field issues.
You mean Franklin was having off field issues at Vandy?
With players. I think players were having off the field issues and they kind of were like, I don't think we're going to how do I want to put this? I don't think they're going to allow certain individuals in that they were letting in at certain points in time. Does that make sense?
I see. Sure. Because Vandy's a good school.
And because people often attribute it to, because I think Vandy is 2 feet in baseball. In my opinion, they're 2 feet in baseball. So I look at, but also I look at some of the other things that are leading into the college football playoff. Who would have guessed in August that Virginia would be in the college football ranking?
Yeah.
And
especially with Malachi Fields leaving.
And I just think that, I think that's one thing that is what Tony Elliott's doing there is highly impressive. And some people look the other way. They look the other way.
No, he's a good coach.
And
for sure.
And here's the problem with a university like Virginia. With all the SEC openings, what stops Arkansas from calling him?
Probably nothing. But again, Virginia's been traditionally a basketball school too. They put more into that. But I like Tony Elliott a lot. He might have been at Notre Dame as a recruiter. He might have been an assistant coach at Notre Dame. His name is awfully familiar. Or else I've just seen him everywhere he goes. He seems to have done well recruiting.
Let me look. But I know he came from Clemson.
Ohio State? Oh, Clemson?
Yeah,
okay.
That's where he came from.
Maybe was he involved with the what's that guy's name? The quarterback. Travis, was it Dexter? No.
Hold on, I am
Lawrence.
I am trying to find coaching history on where he's been.
Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yes, he was there with Trevor Lawrence, but the the Clemson the Clemson coaching tree, or well, their cradle of coaches got drained after they won those 2 national championships. He was the wide receiver coach. Um,
And they had good ones, very good ones. Yeah.
he played at Clemson. I'm looking. He returned to coaching as an assistant at South Carolina State. They were good there. He was receivers coach at Furman. So basically, he was in the SWAC until Dabo hired him. So for the majority of it, he was there when they had Venables, Jeff Scott. They had a loaded coaching staff, and I think that's kind of what happened on the offensive side of the ball with Clemson. Is that everybody that they had that in the normal succession, once a coordinator leaves, you know, you would bring up the wideout coach that had been there maybe 5 or 6 years to call plays. Well, he's not there. He's a head coach. You know, Tony Elliott got taken away from Dabo. Brett Venables got taken away from Dabo, and Dabo essentially didn't really reload. I think he promoted interns that weren't ready. He kind of got into that Ryan Day kind of thing because Day promoted within. He didn't bring outsiders into the program, really, for the longest time up until.
Yeah, I was gonna say the when Clemson was winning those championships or championship, I think he won 2, didn't he?
Yeah, Dabo won 2.
Yeah, so with Trevor Lawrence, and when the defense, it's very rare to be able to have 2 good things, but usually that's the team you see winning it all, is that has a good offense and a good defense. And Venables was really, he had great defenses for Clemson, even though the ETN and Lawrence and the receivers, can't think of one guy I know was very good, but you have to have both to win it all. You can't just have one side be very good and the other side, You really need both to come together in that magical year to be able to go all the way,
Yeah, it takes a lot of luck it's hard to win championships, and while we're on
healthy, and that's right.
And while we're on the ACC, I found it fascinating that Bill O'Brien got into a heated exchange at Boston College with a reporter that, Billy O kind of called him out. He said, "You show up here." I don't have the direct quote. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he just pretty much said, "You show up here once a month and ask demeaning questions." But he kind of told him, he's like, I'm trying to rebuild a program from scratch. I mean, Jeff Hafley kind of left that program in the lurch a little bit.
Yeah.
And with the transfer portal, he just pretty much, because I don't think they hired Bill O'Brien until like the end of January. So he really didn't even get one recruiting cycle. And then you're behind on next year's class starting this year. I think this is the first year he's really getting into the recruiting thing. So, I mean, BC's 1-8, but it's a proud program up there. He can't be shocked that people are upset that they're not winning.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make a big deal about the Notre Dame game because, it being another Catholic institution. And it's like, realistically, the program that Marcus Freeman took over and the program that Bill O'Brien took over are 2 totally different things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like night and day.
Yeah, that's why they refer to them as their little brother,
Right. And I don't think Boston College is out there spending they're not spending Notre Dame type money on recruiting.
No,
And
which is it's actually kind of a new thing for Notre Dame. I'm surprised they adapted so quickly to this day and age. Like they really made the right moves. They brought in a GM. They brought in Freeman. Freeman brought in a lot of good coaches. Like all of a sudden, like they were prepared for this.
Notre Dame, I think when Jack Swarbrick retired, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I think his name's Peter Bavacqua. Is the athletic director. I think he was
right.
He was prepared and had a plan, and I think that there's quiet as kept, Joe. To be honest, I think that there is a alliance between the SEC and Notre Dame. Like they're on the same page.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think they're on the same page, just because it just got announced today. Auburn and Notre Dame are going to do a home and home.
So, that's good. I'd like to see that. What's funny is, Duke, as a Notre Dame fan, I've always liked Auburn. And it wasn't so much anything to do with anything. I just liked their uniforms. And I was a big fan of Bo Jackson. I mean, I couldn't believe how, first when I go back seeing Earl Campbell, and then I go and see Herschel Walker, and then I see Bo Jackson. It's almost like the same kind of a thing with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, and then all of a sudden LeBron James comes along. It's like, what the hell is like all of a sudden these amazing creatures of sport are just like just doing ridiculous things.
Well, I think that one of the things that I think people have a hard time with is that when you cut it down to brass tacks, a place like Auburn, it's been tough for them to get traction when they had fired Gus Malzahn. I know the Auburn fans will be mad at me about it, but I don't think firing Malzahn during COVID was a good idea.
No, Malzahn, he's going to be one that takes a head coaching job, I think, this year.
Oh yeah, I think Malzahn's going to get a job offer. I don't see, because I think that's the whole reason why he went to Florida State.
Yeah.
Is he wanted to position himself at least to get an interview or try to get in there at some point.
Yeah. Well, he had some hard luck, but he always knew he was a good coach. So the guy is one of the most creative. I put him and Kiffin in the same. I don't think Kiffin's better than him, but as far as creativity goes and offenses, but I don't think he's second to anybody in terms of his offensive genius. I mean, he's really good. I have a lot of respect for him, obviously, from what I'm saying, but I think he'll be. It just depends on where he wants. Does he want to stay in the AC or the SEC or even the ACC? I guess he's at. But where do you think he would want to fit to? Do you think he's a Midwest kind of guy or no? Big Ten.
The thing that I think with Malzahn is, I think he'll stay in the South, but I think he is going to get away from Florida State as soon as possible because it's been an abject failure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they've been really ever since Bowden left. Really, like Jimbo Fisher, he was riding the pants of what's his face? What's his name?
Saban.
No. What was the guy that was at Florida State for 35,000 years?
Oh, Bobby Bowden.
Yeah. I think when Jimbo took over for them, he got the best of all of the guys, last 4 years of kids and culture. And then all of a sudden, he was like, well, I'm not doing great here, but I'm not doing bad. It's with not kids of my own. And though Texas A&M says, well, look at this. We got some pretty deep pockets over here. Why don't you come over here? And all of a sudden he just made a lot of money, but he was still the same old shitty coach. I mean, to his players anyway. He's you just saw it on his interviews.
There's a lot of mixed review stuff out there about Jimbo.
Well, he didn't take a back seat to Saban. Like he kind of respected him a little bit, but like he thought he was better.
Well, I think that because he was on the LSU staff.
Yeah.
When Tuberville left Auburn before he could get fired, I know some people will disagree with me on that, but they were going to fire Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah, he wasn't much.
But see, Tommy Tuberville knew which way the wind was blowing, and I think he skirted from jobs as soon as he knew that, hey, I might get fired here. He just took off.
Yeah.
Because
into politics.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good spot for him. I think that, if you go back and look at that LSU staff that was there with Saban, look at all the head coaches that were there. You had Will Muschamp, which I think Will Muschamp is good. I think he took bad jobs, in my opinion.
Is he in coaching still?
No, Muschamp is not in coaching.
He's still kind of young, isn't he?
Yeah, he's only like 50.
Yeah.
He's got another 15 years in him if he wants to.
Was he coach at South Carolina or no?
Yeah, he got fired at South Carolina, and then he took an analyst job with Kirby because he was with Kirby Smart at LSU. I think Muschamp was coaching the linebackers. Kirby was coaching the secondary.
I see.
And and Jimbo was coaching the wide receivers at LSU. So there's 3 future head coaches right there, and 2 of them have national championships. Jimbo and Kirby.
Yeah.
I truly think that he's going to get. I think Muschamp's going to get another shot, at least to be a coordinator. But right now, he's he has the ability to take off.
Do you think Gruden's going to get? Do you think Gruden's going to get in a head coach position in the college?
Okay. Do you want something unpopular?
Sure. Whatever your opinion is.
I think if you hire Gruden, it'll be a disaster.
As a head coach anywhere?
In college.
What about Colorado?
I'm not going to say that I think Colorado's too cheap to move on Dion, but I don't think it's going well. I think if he fires a bunch of people, his clock is ticking.
What about UCLA?
I think UCLA will probably keep Tim Skipper and the new Heisel kid I think they'll keep them together.
They like that team, you think?
I think they like the direction of where things are going. I think by them winning games, it's ignited some passion, and I think that they'll be able to go out and fundraise off of this because at the beginning of the year, I picked them to go 3-9.
Yeah.
And
well, I tell you, UCLA, the Pac-12 was a very good conference. It used to be that they ate each other up like the SEC is doing now because they had some good teams, UCLA, in the 90s, they were beating USC like 7 out of 10 years. Like they were just beating
Right. And
them.
it,
And
being on the West Coast, I think that would be a hell of a recruiting draw. You play in the Rose Bowl. You play a lot of
yeah,
primetime games.
yeah, and you have a lot of good, the Catholic school division that they have is like New Jersey too. They liken to each other, but there's just a lot more kids in California than New Jersey. New Jersey's kind of small
Right.
as states go,
And
but they do have good football.
and
But
it's
then again, California is vast. Like you can have anybody from Southern Cal up to Northern Cal, and it's a pretty good group of athletes.
from some people that were around Carroll have always said this about California. You don't have to leave the state to recruit to have the number one class. And I think that
Yeah,
a lot of the people that I know that are UCLA fans and that are USC fans are pissed because they feel like the homegrown talent isn't getting recruited enough.
yeah, and I
And
think that's true, but that's because it's so different now than what it used to be. I mean, there was very few schools to choose from in the South, and really in the North. That's what gave Stanford a chance, for football. If they had grades, they
I
could get talent, and they had a pretty good pool because Sacramento actually is a very good region for football players.
oh
Not just
yeah.
the Bay Area. Yeah,
Yeah, because to me, I've always told people that California is three states in one
yeah, pretty much.
because you have Northern California, you have Southern California, and then you have the middle of California.
Right. And it's the same thing with Texas. That's why they have so many great athletes. It's a big state,
Oh
you know.
yeah, the Houston area. That's why I think
Georgia.
Willie Fritz is going to do outstanding at Houston
Yeah.
because you're a stone's throw away from as long as you lock down the city and you keep the hometown kids uh there, all their
But there's
friends.
also there's also a lot of other powerful for Texas schools too, right? I mean,
Yeah, you have
Texas Tech,
Tech,
Baylor,
Baylor. Although I think Baylor's a hard sell to recruits. It's a cult.
A&M. Well, they're another one that comes up every decade. They'll have a really pretty competitive team. Those mid-level schools every decade or so, you'll see them like top the charts in their conference.
I
Because they for some reason it came together.
I think if I'm Oklahoma State, do you hire that guy at North Texas that's putting up a ton of offensive numbers?
Well, that's another thing where Oklahoma and Texas kind of steal each other's recruits from their home states, right? So yeah, it could happen.
I think you hire the guy from North Texas. That would be his. That's kind of going to be like his third stop in 6 years, but he keeps progressing level by level. And I don't know. I watched
I
AJ Mc.
think Alex Golish is one of those guys that are up and comers that have a great rapport with their kid. He has a great rapport with this kid's ball out for him.
Yeah, I
South Florida.
I think that here's going to be the issue. Florida has pretty much all in the media has done this. They've pretty much all but promised Lane Kiffin to the fan base. Okay?
And it's not happening. So how smart is that?
And I think whoever they get on the back of the Kiffin stuff, I think it's going to be an issue because the fan base is going to be pissed because you told us Kiffin, and regardless of whoever they hire, it ain't going to be good enough. And I
Yeah.
think I think either Brian Hartline or Dan Mullen's going to be at Penn State.
Okay.
I just think that that's going to happen. Um,
Well, what's Hardline's background? I mean, he came up through Ohio State.
When Zach Smith got fired, the wide receiver coach at Ohio State, he got promoted to receiver coach and has had great recruiting.
Oh my God, I'll say.
And I think that the foundation was there. It was good. Now he's calling plays, but I still think Ryan has a big hand in the play calling. But I could also see a world that they make Hotline the head coach. He goes out and gets an OC. Primarily, it could be Corey Dennis. He'll get a shot at the big time, which is Urban Meyer's son-in-law.
Where is he?
He's at UCLA with, or not UCLA. He's at UNLV with Dan Mullen.
Okay.
Because when he got,
and you think he'll get right to a head coach?
I think Corey Dennis will have a bigger bump than anybody to get a head coaching job early. It helps when your father-in-law is Urban Meyer, and that you got jobbed at Ohio State and blamed for Kyle McCord. Because I do think that happened.
Right.
I mean, some people will disagree with me on that, but in a roundabout way, he blamed Corey for Kyle, and so we'll see where that shakes out. But I think that's coming down the pipe. I don't see where. I just don't see where that they think that it's going to shake out well. And also, I'm on the boat of what's LSU going to do, because they have limited candidates that they're looking at.
I think LSU is going to struggle. They're in chaos. I really think they're going to struggle. Maybe Malzahn might work out for them.
I don't think Malzahn's a big enough name for LSU.
Well, then who are your options? Unless you go NFL, you start looking around there.
I think that they're going to make a big push to hire Joe Brady, the Bills' offensive coordinator. But if you're Joe Brady, if you stay put, you'll get an NFL job soon. You want to be a head coach in the NFL, or would you rather be a head coach in college?
I don't see that as I don't see that when you're saying they're going to need a big name. I don't see him as being one of those big names.
Well, you have to remember, Joe Brady resonates because he was the offensive coordinator when Burrow's senior year, when they put up those video game numbers with Orgeron.
What's he done lately? That was 5 years ago.
Well, he's
4 years.
He was on staff at Buffalo, and they brought
Buffalo
after Brian Daboll took the Giants job, they hired Ken Dorsey, and Dorsey didn't work out. They fired Dorsey, and then they brought in they promoted Joe Brady. Because when Orgeron got fired, he needed somewhere to go, so he skedaddled to the NFL.
Okay, so I thought you were talking about the college team, Buffalo.
No,
but you're talking about the pros.
Yeah, he was.
Because that Buffalo college team is actually doing a lot better,
Well, they hired.
I never used to hear about that.
They hired one of the reasons why I think Shane Beamer's struggling is that they took Pete Limbo away from him. Because Pete Limbo was the head coach at Ball State when they were pretty decent, and then he took a job at South Carolina pre-COVID because I think he was tired of making $400,000 a year and wasn't getting any looks. So he went to the SEC to be a special teams coordinator, did really well there, and then went back to Buffalo. I think with opportunity, I think Pete Limbo is going to have some options, to say the least. I think Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to get some run, Ole Miss's offensive coordinator, and I also think that Pete Golding's going to probably get some looks as well. So
yeah, well, that's what I was going back to. What I said about you're going to start seeing some new faces all of a sudden. It's going to be like a changing over, of the faces you used to recognize. I mean, when they're digging deep into North Carolina and Belichick, it's like I think a change is coming. And now you got all these firings. It's like there's just not enough people that have names as head coaches. It's like you're going to have to start putting some trust in some of these guys that were assistants, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's time for some new blood to show what they can do, as a head coach.
I think it'll be fascinating to see how the Belichick thing pans out. I really do, because I think this is going to be a one and done year. Maybe I can't see him bringing him back. It hasn't worked.
Who are we talking about?
Bill Belichick at North Carolina.
Yeah. Well, no, Bill. That was done for his son. Like he's grooming him to just be a head coach somewhere, and it could be in North Carolina or it could be anywhere. But he wants him to get a good chance at showing what he can do. And Bill Belichick was one of the best defensive minds of all time. So when he was with the Giants, he was just amazing. Of course, they had players, but he developed them too. Like he demanded the best from them, and all of a sudden they were delivering. So I think that he wants. I think he respects his son's abilities, and I think he wants him to, try and make it if he wants it as a head coach somewhere.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating on how the Steven stuff shakes out. I don't necessarily subscribe to the fact that I think that they completely clean house. I don't know what North Carolina's financial situation is, but they're paying Belichick a lot of money.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because they're a basketball school too, for the most part.
Well, I think they're trying to get in the SEC.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that.
I don't think they should. I mean, it might come down to that because of the Big Ten and SEC are going to be absorbing teams, so it might come down to that. But I don't think they should be in any rush to leave. They haven't proven anything yet in what's people consider as probably the third strongest conference of the four.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a crapshoot between them and the Big 12. The problem you have is that there's really no measuring stick, because
no consistent one.
You can pick at everybody has warts in their conference or at the bottom of their conference.
Absolutely.
I mean, Mississippi State, Mississippi State, that kind of, I don't think they have a plan. I think that they're just trying to keep the doors open and compile as many resources as possible. I've heard grumblings that Levy's people, somebody else put it out there, that I know put it out there, and the Mississippi State fans freaked out. But I wouldn't be shocked if Levy doesn't get some looks. If Oklahoma makes a change, I think that Levy would be on their short list. They kind of throw it out there like they scoff at it, but I don't know how you can. So I think the Oklahoma thing gets interesting. Does Eli Drinkowitz leave? I mean, if the big thing for me is that if you would fast forward the season to the end of this month and through the playoffs, is going to be fascinating. I don't know how you hire a coach that's in a playoff run. I just don't know how you do it.
That's in a playoff run push.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because the playoffs don't even start until.
You're just going to have to wait. Like, they're all going to have to wait till the end of the year, unless there's a firing like Franklin and he's already decided his next move. But these guys that are pushing for playoffs, they're not going to be going anywhere until they're out, right?
Oh yeah, because what kind of rapport would you have with your team if, let's say, you're Steve Sarkisian and you leave to take the Florida job and you leave in the middle of the playoffs? Like, what kind of message does that send?
Right.
So I think hiring a coach that's in the playoffs is out.
I agree.
At the earliest, you could get there the last week of December. Then you have 1 week until the portal opens. That smells recipe for disaster. I mean, it does. I think that, because you could have kids that have handshake deals together, and let's say Florida does hire Lane Kiffin. Well, then that changes a whole bunch of dynamics.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened with Notre Dame with Charlie Weiss. They were left high and dry. Willingham was horrible, and so they knew they had to get rid of him, but they didn't find anybody. And Charlie Weiss is a former alumni of Notre Dame, and he said, coming off of his championships at New England, he was just like, yeah, I'll coach him. But it was like in December, like mid-December, that he finally, they finally found him to take over the job. And he wound up, luckily and crazy, he started getting recruits right off the bat,
Well, he could jingle those. He could jingle those Super Bowl rings.
Yeah. But I mean, Brian Kelly did the same thing to Notre Dame, and all of a sudden it's December and Notre Dame's got to find somebody. But luckily, Notre Dame liked Freeman. Like, they were happy to land him, that Kelly brought him in, and the fans liked him, and because of his Ohio State pedigree, right?
Well,
and then Cincinnati, I guess, where he was pretty good at.
Another unpopular opinion. Since Luke Fickell has lost Mike Dimbrock and Marcus Freeman, look at what Wisconsin is.
Yeah.
I
feel sorry for them. They're a much better team than what their schools start supporting football. That's just, I think they're more happy with what basketball has been doing for them lately, and I think that's probably getting some money going the other way, right? Going towards basketball.
Here's a funny scenario. Do you think that in a crazy world, do you think that Wisconsin, if they were to move on from Fickell, they would try to hire Brett Bielema back?
Well, is Bielema on his way out? Is he at Arkansas? Where is he now?
He's at Illinois. They've been.
That's right.
They've been better than what they have been.
Yes, they have. Bielema's a good coach. I think he had off-field issues too, though, right?
Not particularly. He got real pissed at Wisconsin because they weren't investing in football, and that's why he left to go to Arkansas.
Oh, okay. I thought he had some issues personal.
No, and then he got fired at Arkansas. But the thing of it is that the one thing the SEC media will do is when the media makes up their mind they want you out, they start leaking stuff, like the Hugh Freeze stuff.
Yeah. True or not?
Well, it's not that it's not true, but it's
right.
The fact of the matter of it, there's a lot of half truth in it.
Right.
Because
did you see where Shaq was putting out rumors and saying he knows a secret that Saban's going to come back to LSU? Did you hear that?
uh, the thing is that I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he could jump back in.
I don't either. I mean, I don't think he likes what he's seeing, and he's actually said that on the television, but it doesn't mean he won't adapt. You know, if he wants to come back and do some more things in football, if I was him, you know, you're going to go down as, if not the best ever, one of the top 3 ever college football coaches. You know, I don't see how anyone can argue that. So I think it's really going to be his ability to because he knows what it takes, and does he have the energy to do it? You know.
I'll be shocked if um what the how the whole thing shakes out, to be honest. I
Yeah.
I feel like that this coaching carousel is just going to completely reshape college football, and
Sure.
I really I blame Penn State for the majority of this.
Well, it's not really about blame. You know, it's like this is where it was headed. You know, it's like all of a sudden, you know, like teams are not doing what was expected, and you know, money, salaries are, you know, they're these schools, a lot of schools, mid level too, are paying a lot of money to head coaches these days that they never were used to, and if they're not delivering, then there's going to make some changes. You know,
And
it's becoming a way more of a business than it ever was. That's for sure.
the crazy thing is as I'm looking at stuff, the big thing in Indiana right now is the start of a new basketball coach, and people nationally keep on saying, and I'm not trying to make this about basketball, but they keep on, it's the beginning of a new era, blah 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 blah. And I just want
Yeah.
to tell the national people that regardless of whatever you think about it, if this guy from West Virginia does not go to the tournament at least every year and make the Sweet 16, they're gonna fire him. I just hate to be
Yeah.
that guy, but they're going to. And
Right.
I think the leash will even be shorter because of the transfer portal. But that's just a side note. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what.
Hey, Duke, I got to tell you, just made my dinner in talking with you. So I'm going to get going and have some dinner, and I'll listen to you and watch you on the rest of the show. How's that?
All right, sounds good, Joe. I'll talk to you, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Yep. Bye. All right, that was Joe. He chimed in for a little bit. That was good. Good to always hear from the fine folks out there. Also, phone line is open. Number to call 260-255-4069 is the number to call. If you want to call, get your call in. We'll leave this open for a little bit longer. But yeah, I think that when it comes to these coaching carousels, it's going to be. I don't know how this whole thing is going to shake out. It's Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, LSU is what you got, right now. Oh, really? Oof, that's interesting. But yeah, I think that for all intensive purposes, where we're at and where we're going is just one of those things that I don't know how you put the toothpaste back in the tube, how you figure out what to do. Also, we got Maction going on tonight. Ball State is up, and Toledo all over Northern Illinois. I'll be interested to see how they get this whole thing to shake out. To be honest, I think LSU removing the interim tag from the athletic director, that's a big deal. I think they're going to close in and hire a coach. I think they should have somebody in place by the time the playoffs start, when the vast majority of the playoff season is when the playoffs start. So there is that. The James Franklin stuff, college football playoff rankings are out. I started with the Hugh Freeze stuff, and the thing with Freeze is that he just did not. It just didn't. It just did not shake out well for him, and I don't know where they thought it was going to, how it was going to metabolize. He just didn't get a quarterback, and when you don't have a quarterback, it typically doesn't go well. Like Tommy Tuberville said, if you don't have a quarterback, you're a dead man. I know that's kind of hard for some people to follow, but I just look at that and I think, well, allegedly Tuberville told him to go after Pavia in the portal. How true is that? I don't know. I think at some points in time, people like to hear themselves talk. I think that's a fact. Also, a ton of hoops on tonight. I think that it's just because I live in Indiana and I've seen it so many times. I've seen them burn through coaches, and I think I wish this guy that's the head coach at Indiana well. But am I going to say that this is going to be a surefire number one winner to where it's going to completely work out? No. I just have seen the song and dance. Everybody gets excited. They win big in non-con, and then when the dog days of the Big Ten roll around, it's kind of it is what it is. But there's that. Also, phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. If you want to call, get your call in now. We'll leave this up and open for a little bit for the folks if they got some grievances they want to air. Joe called in. Appreciate Joe for showing up and showing out. But also, am I the only person that finds that, oh, wow, they have a Jersey Mike's dunk tank? I'm sure that was a cold one. At Toledo, some kid just got dunked in the dunk tank. Hopefully he's getting paid something for that. But number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. It's kind of one of those deals at the moment. Also, as I'm looking at some stuff, that's really heartbreaking. They had the celebration of life for Nick Mangold, good Buckeye, good dude all around. I never knew him or met him, but Heard nothing but positive things. That's a sad thing to see. The guy I think was 41. Just unbelievable, man. Condolences to his family. I believe the funeral was yesterday. Also, in other news, the Germany game that was supposed to be played over there with Michigan and Western Michigan was canceled. I thought that was interesting. And here's also, when it comes to the coaching firings and buyouts as well, Brandon Marcello tweeted, "We're up to approximately 185.6 million in total buyouts for head coaches in college football season, remaining salaries for the current calendar year." Yikes, people. This is a problem. This is a major problem. And you got to remember, you have people that also, you have defensive, offensive coordinators, coaches, position coaches, support staff. Who knows? This could be a $500 million in changeovers. 186 million just in head coaching salaries. Unbelievable. And like I had brought up with Joe, Joe being a big Notre Dame guy, I think it's really good that Notre Dame goes out and schedules Auburn with a home and home. I think the home and home aspect of it is interesting to me, because Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman have put the edict out. They're not scared to play anybody. I mean, they go from, which the Auburn faithful will be, I think, taken back by what it is at Notre Dame. I think that, you know, a lot of the Auburn fans, I would say, probably haven't been to Northeast Indiana, so that'll be a culture shock depending on when the game is. And I mean, we've had Notre Dame's had Georgia come to town. They've had Texas at Notre Dame Stadium. They've had, I guess, iconic SEC teams, and I think that there's an alliance there. For as much as the Big Ten people think that they want to align with Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame has no interest in aligning with the Big Ten. I think they would rather roll with the SEC. Outside of the Big Ten getting paid a lot of money from Fox, their TV deal kind of stinks. For all intents purposes. So I think that Notre Dame as a brand itself would much rather deal with ESPN and NBC. Notre Dame has played, I think, one noon game this year, and it was Arkansas, and that did numbers. So there's that. That's kind of my feeling on it. But Notre Dame, Auburn, 27-28, home and home. It'll be fascinating if, in which I know some Auburn people. Oh, wow, that's interesting. ESPN is showing the graphic right now of, for the LSU Alabama game, and I don't know if anybody cut that, but they just showed Brian Kelly. I think if I'm Michigan State, I hire Brian Kelly if I move on from Jonathan Smith. I think that's the realistic thing that they have there. But here was a comparison that TriStar Network put out. Steve Sarkisian, 5 years at Texas. He took over a 7-3 team with deep NIL pockets. He's 45-19, top 5 coach. And this is for the Tennessee people. Josh Heupel, 5 years at Tennessee, takes over a 3-7 team with scholarship limits, 43-18. Not good enough. I find that interesting. I find that very interesting. I don't get the Tennessee people angst about Heupel.
Like I said on the broadcast the other night, there was some people getting upset with Heupel, and the only thing I'm saying is well, with the Heupel stuff, do you want to go back to Derek Dooley / Butch Jones era? And also Jeremy Pruitt being back in the game, I bet he ends up back at Alabama. I about guarantee you he about ends up back at Alabama. Or whenever Jared Parker decides to dip on Ola from Troy, he could be the head coach at Troy. Just a observation. And also Charles Kelly is getting on some of these hot board lists, and I'm not shocked by that either. But also, we'll leave it open for about 15 more minutes. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. The phone line is working today. Saturday it was not. I apologize. Did not realize that it was not working. But there's that. Also, phone line is open if you want to call. But yeah, I find that fascinating on the Josh Heupel, Steve Sarkisian comparison. 45-19 versus 43-18. I think the Tennessee folks should chill out, but there is that. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. We got the college football playoff rankings out. Also, the TV ratings, where Fox actually did pretty good. CBS still finished fourth. The number one, almost 5 more million people watched Georgia, Florida than they did Indiana, Maryland. Notre Dame, Boston College didn't really do much of a number. But to lead it off, Georgia, Florida, 7.9 million viewers. Ohio State, 7.1. I think that's the first time Big Noon Kickoff has been in there, but what are we doing here? I think they could have pulled a 10 million number if they would have put that game at night. That's just my opinion. But Tennessee, Oklahoma, the night game did 4.8. Texas, Vanderbilt, 4.5. Texas Tech, Kansas State did a 3. Still beating CBS. ABC and Fox are just kicking CBS's ass because CBS could have had Florida, Georgia. SMU, Miami, 1.5. Ole Miss, South Carolina, 1.2. 1.32. Wow, Army Air Force did a million views. That's fascinating. As you get down, Colorado, Arizona did 374K. That means they got beat by Washington State, Oregon State, Cincinnati, Utah, UTSA, Tulane, Georgia Tech, NC State, Louisville, Virginia Tech. Wow, those TV numbers that's tough sledding. So there's that. Outside of the college football playoff, there's not a whole lot. So there's that. Also, Maction is on as well. So I guess since we've kind of gone dormant on the phone line, we will conclude it there. Appreciate everybody. I went with a different style and thumbnail look for tonight. There is that. We'll see how it works out. And on these shows that I'm going by myself, we'll just keep the phone lines a rolling, and that'll be that. So like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. I think Richie's going to be joining tomorrow, if I got that right. So we'll have Richie tomorrow, and then that, and then the game we're going to stream is going to be Alabama LSU prime time. So, and then it'll be a post game show. We'll talk about that. Probably leave it open until halftime of the late night game, just depending on how it shakes out, and then that'll be that. So, with that being said, we will talk to you guys later, and see you tomorrow. Everybody have a good evening.